Hello students, today we are going to discuss pharmacology of beta-2 agonist. Now this is covered in the video on pharmacology of anti-asthmatic drugs part 2. Beta-2 agonist is a class of anti-asthmatic drugs. Beta-2 agonists are bronchodilators. Now these drugs provide symptomatic relief in asthma by inducing bronchodilation. Now look at this diagram of airway in the asthma. The diagram shows the structure of the wall of respiratory tube. Now this is the structure of the wall of respiratory tube. Now innermost lining is called as the mucosa, and this mucosa is made up of red colored ciliated columnar epithelial cells. These ciliated columnar epithelial cells here are shown in the red color. Goblet cells shown here in the black color are located in between the columnar cells. And these goblet cells produce mucus, which is shown here in the green color. In the center is the lumen, that is the respiratory passage or the airway through which the air passes. Outermost layer is called as the adventitia, and below the adventitia is a layer of smooth muscle cells. Now in these smooth muscle cells are located beta-2 receptors. Now in asthma, bronchoconstriction causes narrowing of the airway lumen. That is narrowing of the passage of air, which leads to difficulty in breathing. Now, stimulation of beta-2 receptors causes relaxation of the smooth muscle cells that results in bronchorelaxation. That is, there is widening of the airway lumen. And because of the widening of the airway lumen, these drugs induce bronchodilation and they provide symptomatic relief in asthma. Now physiologically, these beta-2 receptors are stimulated by adrenaline, and therefore these receptors are called as beta-2 adrenergic receptors. Thus beta-2 agonists stimulate adrenergic beta-2 receptors located on airway smooth muscles, and they induce bronchodilation. Now beta-2 agonists are the frontline treatment for asthma. These are the bronchodilators of choice in asthma. Now primarily they induce dilation of bronchioles, that is the smaller airways. Now coming to the classification of beta-2 agonist. Beta-2 agonists are classified on the basis of their duration of action as a short-acting beta-2 agonist, that is SABAs, and long-acting beta-2 agonist, that is LABAs. And apart from that, there are drugs which come under the category of ultra-long-acting beta-2 agonist. Now let's talk about short-acting beta-2 agonist. Salbutamol is a very important drug which comes under this category. Now inhaled salbutamol is delivered mostly by pressurized meter dose inhalers, and it produces bronchodilation within 5 minutes, and its duration of action is for 2 to 4 hours. It is used as and when required rather than on regular basis, not more than 4 times a day. Another short-acting beta-2 agonist is the terbutaline. Terbutaline is another short-acting beta-2 agonist. It is also inhaled and it produces bronchodilation within 5 minutes, and duration of action is 4 to 6 hours. It is also used as and when required, not more than 4 times a day. Now these short-acting beta-2 agonists, they provide bronchodilation within 5 minutes. That means they provide quick symptomatic relief in asthma, and therefore these drugs, they are covered under the category of rescue medication, very important medications. Now talking about the long-acting beta-2 agonist, the drug is the salmeterol. Salmeterol produces bronchodilation in about 15 minutes. The action lasts for about 12 hours, and inhaled salmeterol should be administered twice a day. And these long-acting beta agonists, they are used as maintenance therapy. They are used as maintenance therapy for round-the-clock bronchodilation in asthma. Unlike SABAs, they do not provide quick symptomatic relief. Similarly, another long-acting beta-2 agonist is the formoterol. Formoterol produces bronchodilation in about 7 minutes, and the effect lasts for about 12 hours. Now, inhaled formoterol is also used twice daily for round-the-clock bronchodilation. Then another category is the ultra-short acting beta-2 agonist. The drug is indacaterol. Now, indacaterol induces bronchodilation in about 5 minutes. Action lasts for about 12 hours. But this drug or the ultra-long acting beta-2 agonist, they are not used in the management of asthma, and these drugs they are reserved for COPD, that is a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Now let's talk about the mechanism of action of beta-2 agonist, that is how these drugs produce bronchodilation. Now beta-2 adrenergic receptor, here shown over here. So beta-2 adrenergic receptor is a member of G protein coupled receptor family, and it is composed of 7 transmembrane. Now beta-2 agonist, shown here in the red color, it binds to beta-2 adrenergic receptor, which are located on the airway smooth muscle cells, that means which are located on the smooth muscle cells found to be present in the wall of the respiratory tubes. Now G protein binds to G stimulatory protein, that is the GS, and which has 3 subunits, namely the alpha, beta and the gamma subunit. The activated alpha subunit of G stimulatory protein dissociates from beta and gamma, and after dissociating from beta and gamma, this G stimulatory alpha subunit, it activates the enzyme adenyl cyclase, and because of the activation of adenyl cyclase, ATP is hydrolyzed. ATP is hydrolyzed to cyclic AMP, and this cyclic AMP further activates protein kinase A. Now protein kinase A further phosphorylates myosin light chain kinase, and phosphorylation of myosin light chain kinase reduces its affinity for calcium calmodulin. Now as we all know that calcium is essential for the bronchoconstriction, because of the decreased affinity of myosin light chain kinase for calcium calmodulin, this results in depolarization of smooth muscles and which causes bronchodilation. Now on the other hand, phosphokinase A phosphorylates inositol triphosphate receptors, which are located on endoplasmic reticulum, and this reduces or this decreases the release of calcium from endoplasmic reticulum in the cytosol, and further there is reduced release of calcium. On one hand, there is reduced affinity of myosin light chain kinase for the calcium. On the other hand, there is reduced availability of calcium because of the reduced release of calcium from the endoplasmic reticulum in the cytosol. This also results in depolarization of smooth muscles. So this is how beta-2 agonists produce bronchodilation. Now let's talk about some very important characteristic features of short-acting beta-2 agonist. Now as discussed earlier, salbutamol and terbutaline, they are inhaled and they are delivered by pressurized meter dose or dry powder inhalers. Now since these drugs induce bronchodilation within 5 minutes, these drugs provide quick symptomatic relief in asthma, and therefore they are referred to as a rescue medication that control bronchoconstriction, and therefore these drugs are of prime clinical significance in acute exacerbation of asthma. These drugs are inhaled as and when required, and clinically these drugs are used for the mild intermittent asthma in adults for the symptomatic relief. Now very important to understand is this, that inhaled beta-2 agonists are delivered directly to the lungs, and thus smaller doses are required, and therefore there are reduced side effects, and therefore these inhalers are safe for the long-term use, and they are preferred over the oral therapy. Now talking about the long-acting beta-2 agonists, that is LABAs, these drugs are also inhaled. Use of oral therapy is highly restricted because of the side effects. And very important to note is this, that long-acting beta-2 agonists, they are never used as monotherapy. They are always used as add-on therapy. They're used in the asthma that is not adequately controlled by the inhaled corticosteroids, and therefore in case of resistant asthma, or if the asthma is not controlled by inhaled corticosteroids, these LABAs, they are added to the inhaled corticosteroids. Now, very important to know about the black box warning. In 2011, US FDA published a warning, that is the black box warning, advising that LABA should not be used alone. They should be used only in combination with the inhaled corticosteroids in moderate to severe asthma. Now, talking about the adverse effects of beta 2 agonist. Now, regular long-term use of beta 2 agonist, either inhaled or oral therapy, down-regulates bronchial beta 2 receptors. Thus, those patients who require regular medication should not be treated with beta 2 agonist alone. Now, moreover, due to the safety issues, oral and long-term therapy with beta 2 agonist is not recommended because of the frequent side effects like anxiety, tachycardia, tremors, and sweating. So this is in brief about the pharmacology of beta 2 agonist, that is a frontline anti-asthmatic bronchodilators. Now, if you find the video useful, kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. You can ask your questions by writing in the comment section. Now, very important to note is that this video is meant only for the educational purpose. And thanks for watching the video.